In this video, we will discuss configuring issues. We will start by discussing labels. Labels are a field used to help categorize and search for issues in any way that makes sense to the team. You can have multiple labels per issue. This issue has two labels, refactor and database. Labels can be added as you create an issue or can be added to existing issues. Jira will suggest existing labels as you type. In this example, in the Create Issue screen, we type an R and we see that we can select the refactor label. We could also type a new name and the label will be created. You can click on a label in an issue and Jira will take you to a search page containing all issues with this label. Here's a search for issues with the label of refactor. You can see that the field name is labels. You can add this field to any search that you do in Jira. Let's say that we are not interested in database-related issues right now. Here we are searching for issues with the label of refactor, but not a label with database. Next, we will discuss configuring screens. Screens display fields of an issue and can differ depending on the context. Here's an example of a screen showing an issue's details. Jira project administrators and Jira administrators can configure the layout of these screens for the project. Let's make a simple configuration change. You can see that Story Points is a field that is displayed under the Show More Fields dropdown. Let's configure the screen so that Story Points is shown above that dropdown. We can start by clicking the Configure icon in the lower right or by selecting Configure from the More menu. Clicking on Configure when viewing an issue takes you to the Issue Layout tab under Project Settings. Here you can rearrange, show, and hide fields shown on the screens. The reason that the Story Points field wasn't shown above the dropdown on the Issue Details screen is because it is listed here under Hide When Empty. This means that the Story Points field will appear under the Show More Fields dropdown if a value hasn't been set for the field. To make the Story Points field always visible, we can drag it above the Hide When Empty section and save our changes. Now when any member of the project views an issue's details, they can see the Story Points field above the Show More Fields dropdown. The simple configuration that we made is working as expected. Next, we will discuss custom fields. Jira comes with a lot of default fields for an issue. In general, you want to try to keep things simple and use those default fields whenever possible. You can add custom fields to issues to answer specific needs of your team. We will create a field called acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria are often used with stories. For example, a product owner would write a list of criteria that must be true for the story to be accepted as done. We could add this list right in the description of the story, but some teams may want to create a specific field for this. To add a custom field to classic projects, you must be a Jira administrator. You can click on the gear icon in the upper right and under Jira Settings, select Issues. You can then click on the Custom Fields tab as shown here. You then click on the Create Custom Field button. You are then presented with the Select a Field Type dialog. Each field has an associated type depending on what you want to do with the field. You can see that there are many standard types to choose from. You can also click on the Advanced tab to view more types. Since we want the product owner to create a free-form list of acceptance criteria, we will select the multi-line text field as the field type. You can then add a name and description for this field. Here we have entered a description of a list of user-centered tests that must pass for the story to be considered done. You then associate your custom field with the screens for your project. If we do this, this field will not show up on screens for other projects. You then see your custom field and can see that it is associated with one screen in your project. Now when you create or update issues in your project, you can add values to your custom field, as we see here. You may have noticed that some field values are required. For example, when you create an issue, the project field is required. This is because all issues must belong to one project. For our custom acceptance criteria field, we can set the field to be required by navigating to the Jira settings, then Issues, then Field Configurations. In the default field configuration, we can see our acceptance criteria field along with the list of screens that contain the field. You can see that the default issue screen for our project is the only screen that it will appear on. Under Actions, we could make our field required by clicking the Required link. There are also other available actions related to the field. For example, we could add it to more screens using the Screens link. Here's a review of what we've discussed in this video. Labels are used to categorize and search for issues. Screens display context-appropriate fields for an issue. Jira project administrators and Jira administrators can configure screens. Jira administrators can create custom fields and add them to screens. Now it's time for you to work on some of the things that we've discussed in this video. Separate hands-on instructions are provided for you.